2-1 defeat last night for Sunderland. Disappointing loss against the Shrewsbury side, who aren't particularly very good. A side we beat not too long ago, though, also in unconvincing fashion. And yeah, I was pretty upset last night. Decided to give myself a few hours to let the result digest and gather some real thoughts. Sort of in the morning, because I thought that would make more sense rather than just a kind of angry rant about how I hate Sunderland. Because I don't hate Sunderland, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing these videos. I hate what they do to us, though. I hate how frustrating it is to be a fan. But the game last night, we got off to a really good start. We took the lead through Aidan O'Brien. Good work with him and Charlie Wyke. I've been more impressed with the two of them. And I think they're probably the two players last night who I thought came out with a reasonable bit of credibility. I don't think either of them particularly let us down. So we get an early lead and it looks all good. It was a pretty average performance, but this league is often decided by A, mistakes, or B, moments of quality. So we got our moments of quality and we didn't make any mistakes, so we had the 1-goal lead. So in the second half, you kind of just hoping we build on that, maybe get a second goal and, continue that fine away form. However, it's just, the silly free kick conceded, I think it was down the right, came into the box, and Remy Matthews, I don't know what he's doing, he comes for it, he just fumbles it totally, and Shrewsbury end up scoring. And in some ways I feel bad for Remy Matthews, because it feels like since he's came in, he's just continually been making mistakes, and maybe it's just a confidence thing, it's snowballing, but also, at this point, he's getting paid to save and make the basics. I'm not talking about, if a shot goes in the top corner or he loses a one-on-one, you don't mind, but just simple mistakes, coming for crosses and having no command of your area is unforgivable for me. The second goal is our left back, Jake Fogans. You don't want to have him too much, because I know he's a young lad and he's coming on loan, and he's playing probably his first game probably in professional football, but again, simple things, even I know not to leave the guy who I'm marking unmarked, and he was taken far too across into central defence, and Shrewsbury ended up scoring because he was just miles out of position. So we 2-1, and then even more infuriating from that, we're getting beat 2-1. There was just no urgency to try and get a goal, and it was, the best way of describing it was an average performance. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the worst we've played all season, because it wasn't the worst we've played all season. We've been undone by two terrible defensive mistakes on our part, but it's also frustrating that this keeps happening. We keep dropping points from positions where we shouldn't. We've dropped 18 points from winning positions. That's the most in the league, more than double the next team. 18 points would put us on 57. It would put us miles clear at the top of the league. Now, I know you're going to drop points from winning positions over the course of the season. 18 at this stage is just absolutely mental. I mean, if we continue this on, we're going to drop about 35 points from winning positions if we do this to the end of the season. That's unforgivable, and I know that that's not necessarily Lee Johnson's fault, but we've seen it happen under Lee Johnson as well. And these are things that, you can blame some things on Phil Parkinson, yes. You can blame a lot of things on Phil Parkinson, but you can't blame the fact that for whatever reason you can't get this team to stay out a lead. That is on Lee Johnson, and I think something important, it's okay to criticise Lee Johnson without wanting him sacked. I don't want Lee Johnson sacked because I believe in the long-term project at Sunderland, but I think there is, it's fine to question him, it's fine to think, yes, that's not working, that's not right, that's totally okay as a fan, and you should feel okay to criticise decisions that he's making without thinking that people will think you want him sacked, because it's pointless as being blind faith, being like, yes, everything he does is golden, because that's just not the case. I think he got his team selection potentially wrong yesterday, but again, I think in some ways, how can you criticise somebody when it's two horrendous mistakes that have cost you? But then in other ways, I'm like, this keeps happening, so clearly there is an issue with concentration there. Clearly there is issues. I know that Remy Matthews isn't a very good goalkeeper. I know that Remy Matthews is making mistakes and has done since he signed for Sunderland. So why are we starting Remy Matthews? Why have we not went out and got a new goalkeeper? And I know there's salary cap issues. Obviously they don't exist now, but there was salary cap issues. Find a way to do that. You released Danny Graham to free up wages. Could you release Remy Matthews? He's out of contract at the end of the season. It's beggars belief to me that we're sat here still talking about goalkeeping mistakes. It feels like all season the thing that's cost us more than anything is goalkeeping mistakes, and in some ways it is unforgivable. It's unforgivable that we haven't addressed those issues, and that's ultimately what's going to cost us come the end of the season, because I think this team is a above average League One side that is probably capable of getting promoted because we should be reasonably good defensively. We're actually getting goals now as well. What's costing us is mistakes, and mistakes define games. It's pointless doing. Yesterday, that was a tight game that was won, should have been won by a moment of quality. There wasn't much in it, and we threw it away by just giving needless errors. So for me now, Lee Burge, I like Lee Burge. I don't think he's perfect, not in a million years. And I think he's made a lot of mistakes this season. I think he's better than Remy Matthews. But Patterson, you got Patterson there, just throw him in. I'm sick of seeing Sunderland not throwing in youth players because of the lack of experience. Because how are they meant to get experience if you don't give them game time? And we see this with all of our young players. It's like they have to go above and beyond to prove that they can play in the team. Patterson is continually weighted. He's not really let them down the under 23s. I mean, I pretty much watched every under 23 games last season, and he was the one player in there that I thought, oh, you know what, he's actually quite decent. Him and Dan Neil. We keep doing this though. Dan Neil does not get starts in games for me for age because he's no worse than the other players that are playing in central midfield. He's no worse than Josh Scowen. Nobody can tell me that because I've watched Josh Scowen play for the last year and he's been very, very average, below average. Dan Neil, every time I watched him play, I thought, oh, do you know what, he looks quite decent. I'm not saying he's a will be. I'm not saying he's going to be, the answer to all our problems, but I kind of understand why you would continually play Josh Scowen when you've got Dan Neil there who seems to do better when he plays it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And other issues we've got going on, defensive injuries. We missed Denver Hume so much. We probably would have picked up more points if Denver Hume was playing. But then again, a left back's not the answer to all your problems. A left back isn't the answer to the fact that when he's playing, he's generally the only player we use in attacking situations. Certainly in Phil Partington, obviously he's never played under Lee Johnson. But we are missing him greatly. Jordan Willis is injured, probably, I'm going to guess a knee injury. He's going to be out for a decent amount of time, probably the end of the season. That's an issue because him and Bailey Wright were probably our two best players. So losing them two together, that's not ideal. But Sanderson, I like the look of Sanderson. Don't think he's particularly let us down that often this season. So I think he's a decent option coming in, but you've got to give him game time because we've never given him a consistent run of games. So I'm interested to see what happens with that. And heaven forbid if we did lose, Bailey Wright and we're having to line up with Sanderson and Tom Flanagan and we don't have a left back at the minute and we're playing a midfielder at right back. It's a disastrous situation to be in. Other points worth looking at, the midfield isn't clicking. The midfield is watching Josh Scowen and Grant Ledbetter at the minute. Grant Ledbetter needs a rest. It's obvious he's not playing at the level he was playing at earlier in the season. Give him a few games off. Give him a week off. Give him just some time to recuperate. It's a heavy season. The pitches at the minute, I mean, admittedly last night's pitch was good, but the pitch at the same night is terrible. It's no wonder we're picking up injuries because they're playing on literally this boggy surface. That's going to cost us come the end of the season. We've got a big squad rotated. It's not rocket science. What's the point in having a squad of 25 players if you're not going to play them all? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So what's the expectations now? We aren't good enough to get promoted. That's it's opinion, but it's opinion based in heavy fact. Because this team isn't good enough to get promoted. And a lot of that isn't on Lee Johnson. That he didn't have the summer to prepare this team. We've got the salary cap and all that stuff, but this team isn't good enough to get promoted. And I think the individuals in the team probably would fit in other systems, but this team's that squad doesn't fit into a system. It's a mismatch of players that aren't capable of playing together. They're not a team that has good team chemistry. It doesn't feel like to me that this team's totally in sync. It doesn't feel like to me this team has that I will do anything for my counterpart. And you look at the best Sunderland teams of the past and they were like that. They honestly were. The Mick McCarthy sides that got promoted, the Roy Keane sides, the Sam Allardyce side of recent years, they had that togetherness. Even the Steve Bruce sides, it had that little bit of togetherness. And we just don't have that at the minute. We don't have a togetherness. I mean, that team's not a team that gets promoted. Absolutely no chance. There's no passion. There's no, camaraderie with that group of players. Not for me anyway. Not from what I've seen. We're not good enough to get promoted. But in that in itself, if we can accept that reality as a football club, then we can prepare for next season and make sure we're ready. We know the salary cap's gone, so we've got more money to play with next season. We've got a new owner coming in, and I've been told from people at the club they expect that to be through by the end of the month. Yes, we've heard that all a million times before. He was at the game last night, though. You'd think that's nearing its conclusion very, very soon. So that means we're going to have financial resources. We're going to have a manager who's been in a while. He knows the players. He'll know the squad. We're going to have a whatever Christian Speakman is, technical director, academy director, whatever he is. He's going to be able to see, or recruitment director. He's going to see exactly what's happening with the team and who needs to stay, who needs to go, what needs to be done behind the scenes, and the club needs to be completely overhauled. Once this takeover goes through, it needs to be overhauled from top to bottom. I'm not saying get rid of staff. That's not what I'm saying in a million years. There's a lot of good staff at the football club, but they just need help. They need additional staff. The academy staff are running on a shoestring. They just need additional help, more coaches, more recruitment, more scouts. And as a football club, we need to do that, and that's what needs to be the preparations. In a lot of ways, the most important thing for Sunderland over the next 12 months is not what happens on the pitch, it's what happens off the pitch. It's what happens with the structure, with the management, with the stadium that needs work on, the academy that needs work done to it. You know, we've been stagnant for 5 years now. Basically, nothing's happened at the football club in terms of infrastructure. Stuff's been stripped back. We're working on a skeleton staff at the minute. So we need the ownership to come in, we need the ownership to change things, and we need Sunderland to begin to become Sunderland Football Club again, because what we're seeing right now is Sunderland in form of they wear red and white shirts. That's not Sunderland Football Club that we're seeing at the minute. Not in a million years is that Sunderland Football Club. What we're seeing is years of waste, years of mismanagement, just on a pitch together, losing 2-1 against Shrewsbury. So that's it. My expectations now, you know, I've hummed and hawed with this. I've talked about before how I don't expect Sunderland to get promoted. That's, you know, that's kind of where I felt all season. But now my expectation is we won't get promoted. I've accepted that now. I've accepted that promotion's not a viable option. If we did go up, I don't think it wouldn't fix our problems anyway. The stuff that I'm fascinated to see is what happens off the pitch. You know, as we come out of COVID, hopefully soon, fans get back in stadiums next year, and this football club be almost reborn. That's what we need right now. We need a complete refresh, a restart, you know, going from blank. And luckily we've got so many players going out of contract, we can pick and choose which ones we want to keep. And we just have to build, you know, we have to trust in the process. It's going to be hard, you know, trusting in a process when you're not winning games, but that's all we can do at this point. And I just hope that they get it right, because, you know, if this doesn't work, and, you know, this ownership doesn't work, and it's not everything that we need, then, you know, we're in danger of just falling into being a bang average League One team. And how do you get out of that cycle? It's difficult. So there we are. There's a nice rant. I said I was angry last night. I was pretty angry today as well. But that's life. Thanks for watching today's video anyway. Comment if you think that I'm wrong, if I'm off pace, because I'm interested. I think that a lot of what I've said is quite controversial. So that's where I'm at right now as a fan. It changes. Obviously, if you win 3 games in a row, then you are talking about promotion again. But at the minute, I just can't see that happening. I feel like we've reached almost crisis point as a football club. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you've enjoyed. Share this video if you thought it was interesting. If you agree, disagree, I would appreciate that as well.